Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ryan Rusink with Tractor Zoom. Would you believe that they let us loose in the John Deere archives? Come on, let's go see what we can find out. Welcome back to the archives. I'm here with Chris Boyens. Chris, I'm holding something that a lot of you want to see, would love to paw through. This is the first book of the 40/20 build cards. And it's kind of made me think, and it's a question I've wanted to ask for a long time. How did Deere decide on the name 40/20 or 44/30 or 44/40 or 84/10? How did they come up with, what's the model naming convention? I don't get it.
I wasn't around back then to tell you exactly how they did it. I'm part of the naming and numbering convention today, and I would assume there were a lot of things done the same way that are done today.
Okay.
It's just a little more complicated today with the amount of numbers and the amount of names and things that are done in trademarks. If you look back even further than that though, it was a little more simple.
Okay.
What was our first?
It was the D.
Right, Model D.
Yep.
But the bathtub was a predecessor experimental tractor in between the Waterloo Boy and the D.
Yep.
That the theory from a naming and numbering was that bathtub was a Model A.
Oh.
The next version was a Model B.
Yeah.
Third one, C.
Oh,
A, B, C.
Yeah,
Remember how that goes?
Yeah, I remember now.
That was the version that they ended up sticking on. So D was really the precipice of where everything started. Why they didn't stick with the Model A to begin with, don't really know. After the D came the Model
No,
C.
I'm not gonna do this anymore
not
because you're
gonna-
gonna make me look dumb.
Okay, I'll try not. I wouldn't do that. That's impossible. Model C was the next one out, but
Okay.
the Model C, unfortunately, if you say C and say D,
They sound an
They're
awful lot alike, especially
much
on a
alike.
gang phone. Or,
exactly,
Yeah.
telegraph to
Yep.
talking to the guy across. But then they continued to go from there, and when the row crops were done, the A came out. But it was originally named an AA. But then they switched to A when it went to production. Then B, C had already been done.
Yep.
D had already been taken. The next letter, E, was for the engine line.
Yeah.
So are you seeing how this is getting convoluted
Yep.
real quick? And then the next one in that line would have been an F,
Right.
which was what the G was started off as the F. But there was another little company that
also
had a
did-
thing called
yeah.
an F12, F14, F20. Frank Silloway said there's no way we're going to call this thing an F.
Yep.
So it was gone to a G. But all the castings on your Gs, 70s, 720s, 730s all have F still on them because that was the project
I
name
didn't realize that.
when it started.
Okay.
So as that goes on, the naming and numbering nomenclature changed along with the rest of the industry. If you look at, everybody kind of had lettered stuff, and then it went to where IH went to the 3-digit number.
Yep.
Deere went to the 2-digit number.
Yep.
And then it started setting that precedence for how we still sit today, that it was 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And that was the size structure
Yep.
of the tractor, and really can be traced all the way to today, where you have 9 series, 8 series, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It's all based on the size, so that you can still have a reign of numbers where the 40/20, if you break it down, they call it 20 series, which was the second iteration of the new gen.
Yep.
With the 20 and the 4 being the first number of that series of tractors. So you had 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, on up.
Yep.
Then the second space, and that was ended up using later for different models, 4230.
Yep.
So then there was a difference between the 4230 and anything in that range that you would set today, where that really starts changing in non-tractor lines. We try to make it as descriptive as possible when naming things in a convention and what is logical. But imagine now being making equipment for 180 years, going back to the model numbers, there's only been a few times where 420 has been used, 4020 has been used a couple times, where we're trying to avoid that so that you don't call something different the same thing.
Yep.
Or call the same thing something different, because it's confusing, and it's not just what everybody thinks is a marketing idea for naming and numbering, which is part of the conversation. It's more of a order fulfillment and more of a parts setup so that you can tell the difference of what that model is I want somebody to come on the lot and be able to look at a MOCO or be able to look at a tillage piece, and just by the model number or name can tell you either how wide it is, tell you how many sections it has, or a variation. And we've really gone to the last digit today with that EM and R. So your lower spec machine will have an E, economy, M for mid spec, and R, ironically, for the premium spec. But R had always been the factory indication for Waterloo. So are you all confused?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
But
on how
I'm
it
trying to act not
goes.
confused. Yeah.
So an 8R compared to a 7R is the family side spec, and then after that is the horsepower rating.
Yeah.
So that's how the nomenclature was done then, but that was changed, gosh, way back, probably when I first started in the naming and numbering side of it. And that's, the naming is usually pretty easy. If it follows convention, it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It goes in series, it's not too bad. But when they come to something like, we want to name a ripper shank a Raptor, that becomes very problematic very quickly. One, Deere's not usually that gimmicky when it comes to naming individual parts and pieces. Plus there's this little thing called copyright and trademark law. That we can't take something and call it that without running all of the searches that somebody else doesn't own it.
Yeah, is somebody else calling their piece of equipment a Raptor?
And is there any benefit to it? So that's what most of the time, names are not a huge piece. And you have to look at trademarks. Most descriptive trademarks cannot be effectively trademarked.
Right.
So if you call something a tire, that's pretty descriptive that it's a tire and you're not going to be able to trademark it.
Right.
But we do have a tendency to use a lot of trademark names and a lot of numbering and a lot of things that hopefully make sense when people see them and separate the company within the public mind. Does that help?
It still doesn't tell me why the dress up a Deere Friend tractor out there, why it's a 4430. But I'm going to take your word for it that you know what you're talking about. I know you do, but
there's a decoder ring, and if you look at them,
how many boxes of cereal do I need to buy to get it?
Lucky Charms probably.
Okay.
Get you some luck.
There we go. There we go. We should send them a bill for that.
I think so. Do they have to pay for that? For us to say Cheerios? No, I didn't say Cheerios. I said Lucky Charms. I'll probably get in trouble for that's probably trademark.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, thank you for listening to us banter. We hope that this helped explain a little bit about the model naming convention.
So now every time you go by and see some piece of equipment, see if you can figure out what we meant by why it's named that.
Well, I'm going to go look for Raptors now. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.